Victor learned he can bring down Kane, Billy, and Jack. The events that transpired on The Young and the Restless. On The Young and the Restless, Diane, Susan Walters, was surprised to find Courtney Hope's Sally knocking on her door. Victor had a mysterious one-way phone call. "I'll be damned," Victor said to himself, marveling at how he was going to rid the corporate world of Kane, Billy, and Jack all at the same time. Jack sat down with Nikki in Chancellor Park. The conversation turned to Victor's ongoing feud with Jack and his family. Jack stated that he hoped Kyle and Claire could come to an agreement. The person he's worried about is Billy. Jack was asked by Nikki for information about Kane's hidden weapon, which he could use against them all. Jack sighed over Kane's many mysteries. Jack pointed out that maybe Kane is bluffing about his new secret weapon. Jack observed that his brother had accepted Kane's entire showmanship. He said he's been frustrated with Billy, but Jack added that Billy was his brother and he loved him. Nikki pointed out that Kane has some devilish hold on Billy. Jack wondered if Kane was the devil. "I'll be damned," Victor said as he came upon his wife and his enemy. "My stomach drops every time I hear his name," Jack said when Nikki asked about Kane and Billy working for him. Jack informed Nikki with shock that Billy had returned his investment. Nikki wondered if Kane was behind Billy's instability. Jack said he was and that Kane and Victor have a lot in common. Nikki heard Jack tell her that Billy is obsessed with Chancellor. Jack pondered Billy's strategy for acquiring it. Meanwhile, Sally showed up at the Abbott mansion, looking for Jack. Diane invited her in. Diane lamented the party for Abbott Communications being cancelled. Diane asked if Billy was all right. Sally proclaimed that Billy was about to make the biggest mistake of his life. Diane pointed out that anything Sally had to say to Jack, she could say to her, as Jack would tell her anyway. Sally said she'd prefer to chat with Jack. Diane pointed out that she could help. Sally said she didn't mean to shut Diane out. She just feels that he's the only one who can talk sense into Billy. Diane agreed to call Jack. Diane called Jack, interfering with Nikki's conversation. Jack received his assistance from Victor and was wished a pleasant day. As Jack exited, Nikki shot her husband a look. Victor said he wouldn't change his opinion of Jack just to be polite. When Nikki inquired about Victor's cryptic comment to Jack, Victor hedged. Victor changed the subject to the launch party for Abbott Communications failing. He called Billy Abbott the idiot who keeps on giving. Victor wanted to know what else Jack bored Nikki with. She suggested that Victor and Jack put their quarrel behind them and work together to defeat Kane. Victor switched the conversation to the weather. Nikki said her company was under siege by Kane. Victor claimed that everything was fine and that he had taken care of that. Nikki agreed with Jack's worries. Victor said he didn't care what Jack thought. Nikki said it wasn't that she didn't trust Victor, but she didn't like being kept in the dark. Nikki asked what Kane's plan was. Victor said that Kane knew that Victor could ruin him if he so chose to do so. They're all in more trouble than she thought, Nikki realized. Victor assured her that they're not. Nikki asked for answers and wanted to know what Victor's plan was. Victor said Kane was still in possession of the secret weapon. Victor added that if Kane asked Phyllis and Billy to be on his team, he was desperate. Nikki remarked, "Not exactly who I'd choose to be on my dream team." Victor said it would all be over soon. Billy arrived at Kane's train. Kane said that Sally was against Billy working with Kane. Billy said that Sally felt what he might do with Kane could be illegal. Billy said it's a gamble. Billy, according to Kane, gambles. Billy said he wasn't anymore, but Kane wasn't so sure. Kane asked Billy to let him know if he was going to back out. There would be no resentment if he did. Kane suggested to Billy that he bet the house on himself. Kane told Billy he needed to be really sure, and if working with Kane would jeopardize his relationship with Sally, then he shouldn't do it. Billy said he was on board with Kane, but that he wanted an assurance in writing that he'd get Chancellor Industries back in his control. Kane said that would be tricky. Billy asked why. Kane said that how they'd acquire Chancellor Industries would be illegal. Billy really wanted to be on a document that said that, didn't he? Billy promised that it would bear both of their names. Kane mentioned Billy's need to demonstrate something to Jill. Kane asked Billy if he would risk everything in his life that's good to make Jill think she made the wrong call. Billy urged Kane not to talk about Jill. Billy said Jill was none of his business. He accepted Kane's offer. It didn't matter how he came to that decision. Kane said it remained to be seen if Billy could help him. Because complications arose as Kane continued to speak with Billy, he admitted that he was unable to discuss specifics with Billy. Kane said Billy has a hatred of Victor Newman. Billy stated that he was fine with Victor getting hurt. Kane advised Billy not to focus on the emotion. Kane said Sally was a liability. He predicted she could react negatively if she felt angry or betrayed over Billy choosing Chancellor Industries over her. Kane thought that Sally would turn on Billy. He wondered if he'd made a huge mistake by bringing Billy onto his team. Billy said to Kane that his plan leaves blood on Billy's hands. Billy said that Kane had been away for 6 years while he amassed his fortune. However, his family did not judge him while he was doing that. Billy said Kane had an alias, Aristotle Dumas, and he was busy riding train cars. During that time, Billy was here, fighting in Genoa City. I have the scars to prove it, Billy said. Billy stated that he had confronted his demons, his family, and his adversaries, and he was aware that Victor and other individuals were pleased Billy had endured defeat. Billy said that the fact that he takes things personally is his superpower. Billy said he's been knocked down so many times, but he keeps getting up. He added Victor's media hit pieces don't bring him down. In fact, they make him stronger. He said he knows what he wants and how to fight for it. Victor Newman broke down and begged for mercy when Billy told Kane that he could get them both what they wanted. When Jack got back to his house, he and Diane sat down with Sally. She emotionally articulated her motivations. Sally said she gave up her old job to help Billy with Abbott Communications. Now, she sees Billy risking everything to get Chancellor Industries back. She doesn't want to be collateral damage. She also owns the stake, not just Billy's. Jack was sympathetic. To Sally's predicament. Jack informed Sally that they had previously traveled this path with Billy. Sally stated that she put in a lot of effort to make the launch party a success. Sally was asked by Diane if she was there to convince Jack to reinvest with her in order to resurrect Abbott Communications, which was otherwise doomed. Sally said that's not why she came to see Jack, but Diane pointed out it's not a bad idea for Jack to reinvest. I'm concerned about Billy. That's why I'm here, Sally said. Sally was asked about Kane's new plan by Jack. Sally said Kane's plan is illegal in every way that one could imagine. Sally goes on to say that Kane wants Billy to take care of the dirty work while Kane washes his hands. Jack asked what the plan was. Sally explained that Kane had an AI software to infiltrate companies. Jack said they have protection against that. Sally said the program sees around that. Diane and Jack realized that could cause a business to fail. Sally said Billy was on board with this because he wanted Chancellor Industries. Jack wondered if Jabot was in jeopardy as well. Sally said Billy only wants Chancellor Industries, not Jabot. Diane suggested that Kane could blackmail Billy. Sally revealed that once Billy got the software, he'd turn on Kane. Sally said that Billy wanted to go after Victor personally. Sally said that Billy will use the software to get Newman from Victor and funding for Abbott Communications. Jack told Sally he didn't pull his funding from Abbott Communications. Sally couldn't believe that Billy lied to her. Why did I blow up my life for this? Sally lamented. Jack pointed out that Kane knew how to push Billy's buttons by riling up his hatred for Victor and their shared history with Jill. Because of that, Billy fights harder. Sally said she can't blame Kane entirely. Sally said she told Billy his plan was insane and they'd be under Kane's thumb. Or in prison, Diane quipped. Sally said Billy didn't listen. Jack stated that Sally's decision was correct. Sally was livid with Billy. Jack said that she wouldn't be there if she didn't still love Billy. Sally wasn't sure her leaving would be enough to sway him. Sally tearfully begged Jack to do something. Jack said Billy hears what Jack tells him, but he goes his way anyway. Diane noted that Billy has often made the wrong decision. Jack sighed that Billy would have to sink or swim on his own. Catch all new episodes of The Young and the Restless weekdays on CBS and Paramount+. The Young and the Restless. Secrets, betrayals, and dangerous deals rock Genoa City. On The Young and the Restless, nothing stays buried for long, and every whispered secret carries the potential to unravel lives. The episode in question brought together a mix of power struggles, heartbreaking pleas, and the kind of double-crossing schemes that define Genoa City's most influential families. While the Newmans, Abbotts, and interlopers like Kane Ashby circle each other like predators, personal loyalties are being tested, and alliances are shifting with the winds of ambition. Let's dig deeper into what happened and what it all means for the future of these characters. Victor Newman once again positioned himself as the puppet master pulling invisible strings across the corporate world. He had a cryptic, one-sided phone call that revealed his intention to eliminate 3 rivals at once: Kane, Billy, and Jack. Victor gave the impression of almost relishing the task of devising a strategy that had the potential to annihilate men who had long been a thorn in his side by uttering that straightforward but ominous declaration, "I'll be damned." To viewers, it wasn't just a phone call, it was a chilling reminder of Victor's old ruthless self, the side that would stop at nothing to protect his empire and his family's legacy. Despite the patriarch's claims that he was acting out of love, his manipulations frequently blur the line between protecting his children and having complete control over their lives. Meanwhile, Jack Abbott found himself in the middle of his own storm. Sitting down with Nicky Newman at Chancellor Park, Jack confided his concerns about his family, especially his brother Billy. While Jack hoped Kyle and Claire might eventually reconcile their differences, his mind weighed heavily on Billy's erratic choices. Jack explained that Kane appeared to have an unfathomable influence over Billy, which deeply concerned him. Jack was pressured by Nicky to reveal Kane's so-called secret weapon, about which Kane had boasted but refused to elaborate. Jack, ever the pragmatic strategist, wondered if Kane's bravado was simply another smoke and mirrors tactic. Still, he admitted that Billy had been sucked into Kane's orbit, buying into promises that could only lead to disaster. Nicky, ever perceptive, pointed out the possibility that Kane's control over Billy was not just professional but psychological. Jack even went so far as to muse aloud whether Kane might be the devil himself, given how much destruction he could cause to those around him. This quiet, reflective conversation carried enormous weight, as it underscored Jack's inner conflict, frustration with Billy's impulsiveness, but also deep love for his brother. Jack knew Billy had flaws, a gambling addiction, a rebellious streak, an obsession with proving himself to Jill, but he also knew Billy's heart was in the right place. It was that duality that made Billy such a dangerous pawn in Kane's game. Victor once more entered this web of deceit, interrupting Jack and Nicky's conversation with his trademark intimidation. Victor greeted them with false civility, but his presence alone escalated tensions. The interaction revealed how much disdain Victor still harbors for Jack, and despite Nicky's gentle urging that perhaps the 2 men should put aside their feud and work together against Kane, Victor remained dismissive. Jack's insights were of no use to him. Victor skillfully evaded Nicky's questions about Kane's plan and his secrecy by referring to the weather and the Abbott communications party that had been cancelled. He was clearly playing a much deeper game, one that left Nicky uneasy about just how much danger Kane's secret weapon posed. While these power struggles brewed in the park, another emotional showdown took place at the Abbott mansion. Sally Spectra arrived unannounced, desperate to find Jack. Sally's motives were immediately misunderstood by Diane Abbott, who greeted her with a frosty politeness. Diane's protective instincts kicked in as she probed Sally about her intentions. Was Sally seeking Jack's help, or was she angling for another investment to revive Abbott Communications after the disastrous collapse of their launch party? Sally brushed aside Diane's skepticism and insisted her purpose was to protect Billy, who, she claimed, was on the verge of making the biggest mistake of his life. Her determination to speak with Jack directly underscored just how high the stakes had become for her. Sally's plea wasn't about business, it was about love, loyalty, and self-preservation. She revealed to Jack and Diane that Kane's grand plan wasn't just reckless but flat-out illegal. According to Sally, Kane had developed or obtained a sophisticated AI software capable of infiltrating companies by bypassing their cyber defenses. It was more than just hacking. It was a massive act of corporate warfare that had the potential to destroy entire empires. Sally explained that Billy had bought into Kane's dangerous vision, lured by promises of reclaiming Chancellor Industries and finally proving himself to Jill. What horrified Sally most was that Kane planned to let Billy take on the dirty work while he himself stayed clean, leaving Billy as the sacrificial lamb should things go wrong. With his face etched with both concern and frustration, Jack carefully listened. He recognized the familiar pattern. Billy being seduced by the promise of power and revenge, ignoring all the warning signs, and charging headlong into disaster. Sally's voice cracked with emotion as she admitted how much she had sacrificed for Billy, walking away from her old job, putting her faith in him, and investing her future in their shared dream of Abbott Communications. She could now see that Billy's obsession with vengeance against Victor and validation from Jill was causing that dream to fade. For Jack, the dilemma was heartbreaking. He had a responsibility to Billy as an older brother, but as a man who had witnessed Billy repeatedly self-destruct, he knew there was only so much he could do. Diane, ever blunt, noted that Billy had a track record of ignoring advice and making reckless choices. Sally, however, wasn't willing to give up. She begged Jack to step in and talk sense into Billy before it was too late. But Jack, weary from years of watching Billy sabotage himself, quietly admitted that his brother would likely forge ahead regardless of anyone's warnings. In the end, Jack concluded that Billy would have to face the consequences of his choices, no matter how devastating. Across town, Billy himself was knee-deep in Kane's manipulative sales pitch. Meeting with Kane in his private railcar, Billy listened as Kane laid out the deal. Sally's disapproval weighed heavily on Billy, but he admitted that she feared their involvement might cross legal lines. Kane, slick as ever, reassured Billy that he was a gambler by nature and that this was simply another high-stakes bet. He dangled the promise of restoring Chancellor Industries to Billy's control, appealing to his deepest insecurities and unhealed wounds regarding his mother's legacy. Kane's words were full of temptation, but they also had a hint of danger. He told Billy that Sally might leave him if she became a burden. This scene revealed the core of Billy's character conflict. He wanted to prove himself to Jill, to stand tall against Victor, and to reclaim his dignity. But at what cost? Billy knew Kane's plan could leave blood on his hands, figuratively if not literally. He pushed back against Kane's arrogance, reminding him that while Kane may have spent 6 years traveling under aliases and amassing wealth in secret, Billy had stayed in Genoa City, enduring scars from constant battles with family, rivals, and himself. Billy passionately declared that being knocked down only made him stronger and that his ability to take things personally was not a weakness but a superpower. That fire, that stubborn resilience, was what made Billy both dangerous and tragically vulnerable. The stakes were clear when Jack got home and heard Sally's full story. Kane was planning a high-tech corporate heist, Billy was getting involved out of pride and need, and Victor was planning his own countermove. Diane and Jack were aware that if used against Newman Enterprises or any other major company, including Jabot, Kane's software could be a devastating weapon. The revelation left them shaken. Sally, heartbroken and angry, realized Billy had lied to her about Jack pulling his funding from Abbott Communications. She cried out in frustration, asking why she had destroyed her own life for a man who continued to deceive her. In a raw, emotional climax, Sally admitted she couldn't stand by and watch Billy go down this path. Yet Jack's response was sobering. He informed her that Billy would have to swim alone, despite the fact that she had made the right decision by distancing herself. Diane chimed in, reminding them both that Billy had often chosen the wrong path. It was a moment of resignation, love, and frustration intertwined, a family forced to watch one of their own head toward disaster, unable to save him from himself.